Hello and welcome to Inside Hancock County, the podcast. I am Mitch Gibson. Today's episode is brought to you by the Elevated Media Company, a videography-based service specializing in marketing, real estate, and wedding services right here in Hancock County. For more information, please go check out Elevated Media Company on Facebook. This one right here is going to be a very, very fun episode. I'm extremely excited. One of my goals going into this podcast series is to get a coffee shop in. Coffee is something that keeps me going on a day-to-day basis, and to be honest with you, didn't think it was going to happen this quick. Reached out to owner of coffee shop here in Greenfield, Porter Coffee, to be exact, right there off of State Road 9, just on the corner of State Road 9 and US 40 downtown. I'd suggest highly going and checking them out. But I reached out to them as they just had their grand reopening last Friday, and was like, I think this is a perfect opportunity for me to reach out and see if I can't learn more about what they are, who they are, and the mastermind behind the coffee making craft. And this is surely a different craft than your usual coffee making. I know we've got now, I think, a total of 3, what you want to call quote-unquote local coffee shops. Greenfield Grind, hitherto, and now Porter Coffee. Porter Coffee House. He was there before hitherto, so I consider it an OG down State Road 9. But I am joined by the owner of Porter Coffee and also Porter Books and Bread in Lawrence, Indiana, just down the road, just outside of Hancock County, Will Worley. Will, extremely happy to have you on the show. I appreciate you taking the time today to spend and go through this little episode with me. And I think it's cool. To not only dive in and learn more about you, but also just kind of for our listeners to know who you are, some of the things that you've gone through as a business owner. You and your wife seem very passionate about what you're doing, especially over here, and then wanting to bring it to Greenfield. So I think it's going to be should be a fun time, and I look forward to learning more about your experience. I guess that kind of asked me first, who are you? Where'd you come from? Where did you start out at? And share your family history here and your wife. You've got a kid.
Yeah.
Kids as well, correct?
Yes. Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
And my wife Marcy and I, we've lived in Indy for about 10 or 12 years, something like that. And we decided to open up a shop here in Lawrence about 5 or 6 years ago. We opened up in 2015. Had a little girl in 2017. So she just turned 3.
That's awesome.
And then
horrible 3s, or is it terrible 2s, or does it just get worse as it goes? Because ours, for us, the terrible 2s were not even a thing. It was the treacherous 3s.
She's been great. She's getting a little sassy, but I think she gets that honest. So we really don't have anyone to blame but ourselves.
It's all right.
We've had a lot going on, and one of the things we've always been passionate about here is coffee and food. And the coffee thing really started to take off, so we worked with the same property owner that owns the building that we are in here in Lawrence, okay. And then he's working with us in the building out in Greenfield. So we decided to use that space as an opportunity to kind of stretch our legs and exercise a little bit more freely in terms of experimenting with coffee and doing some things out there that we wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to do here in Lawrence. And then eventually we'll be roasting out of that spot too.
Cool, and that's something that makes you guys different compared to some of the other competitors, is you guys do roast your own coffee in-house, and hopefully soon at the other shop as well.
Right, yeah. So, and that was part of the plan when we first moved out there, but we had some issues trying to get a hold of the right ventilation so that we were up to code and everything, and that really kind of put us behind on schedule, but we're still planning to move out there to roast. But yeah.
So is that kind of what I know you guys, like I said, just had the grand reopening and whatnot. Is that something that was kind of a pushback due to the trying to get the systems up and running? For people that live in Greenfield, like I just told you when I showed up, you could drive down State Road 9 every single day and may not know that something's on either side of the streets. So they are just located. So if you're crossing State Road or US 40 headed towards the interstate, I-70, It is literally the third or fourth door on the right-hand side as you're approaching. And I don't want to compare apples to oranges here, but if you know where the Greenfield Grind is, they are directly across from the Greenfield Grind. Which, like I said,
it's really weird to explain that to people because we are
right across the street.
You know, that other coffee shop. We're right across the street from those guys. But right there. And we got some new signage in the window and stuff, so hopefully we're a little easier to see. But we're not unfamiliar with visibility problems being in our spot in Lawrence at Fort Harrison. It's kind of like a maze around here, so that's something that we're used to. And I honestly think we kind of prefer it that way, sort of flying under the radar.
Absolutely, and I think that too that just one helps separate you is it's kind of that your guys' authenticity is. Who's Porter Coffee as a brand. We don't want it to be one of those shops that sits on the corner and, no offense Starbucks, but sits on the corner and everybody knows what Starbucks is. Well, it's because it sits there and they've got the financials to, put a Starbucks within every 3 miles and people know where it's at, so it's easy accessible. But, having a local business, I think it's cool for people, one, to start learning who you guys are and what you guys are about. And that's kind of the reason why I wanted to have you on, because it's, coffee is something that I thoroughly enjoy. I hated it, 5 years ago. Couldn't stand coffee. Yeah. Now it's something that I drink probably till 1, 2 o'clock, and then sometimes we'll pop another.
And black, no less. That's for not liking coffee 5 years ago. That's quite a transformation.
That's kind of the reason too, that when I was first drinking coffee, and it was just, I'd have Maxwell House coffee, and then I'd throw about 3 or 4 spoonfuls of creamer and then sugar, and my stomach would just kill. So I'm I'm done drinking. So I stopped drinking it, and then now, having kids and getting up early and going to work, it's like, and that's all that's in the office is black coffee. And so I'm like, I want to drink this black coffee, and next thing you know, I'm addicted to it.
I think the industry is definitely shifting a little bit more toward kind of what we would call a craft coffee scene.
Kind of like a craft beer.
Yeah.
Is that what you're drinking right there?
This is a cold brew on a nitro tap, so I've gotten addicted to the cold coffee, and it's a little smoother. That's usually what I used to wake up with in the morning.
It was a cold brew type of deal.
Yeah, cold brew.
Now, for people that if you wanted to in the shop, could you come buy bagged coffee?
Totally.
You guys distribute that to any vendors inside Hancock County or outside somewhere?
One of the reasons that we needed to open up in another location specifically for the coffee stuff was to kind of expand the operation a little bit, mostly on a wholesale end of things. So like that was mostly intended to be a roastery and kind of like a
hub for your
preparation and production facility with so we were really hoping to roast out of there. Things kind of changed. The space that we're located in was attached to was kind of tied to an interesting little project with the city of Greenfield was putting on, like a competition, so to speak. And some of the things with that essentially we were going to share the space with a retail front, someone else doing business out of there, and we were just going to operate as a roastery. So, over the course of time, things didn't really shake out with that, so we ended up opening up as our own retail front, kind of being we sort of approached it as like a tasting room kind of deal, or like an outlet for our coffee, for the coffee brand, for people to come and experience what we're about. So
it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
When you think about a lot of people just put their Keurig cup in the morning, or put their Maxwell House in the filter and let it brew in the morning. I don't think they really put in the thought of the work and stuff that comes behind it. I'm looking at your little assembly line over there with the scale and with the roaster and your buckets and things of that nature. And I'll kind of post a picture of it here when I conclude, kind of promoting the episode here. But there's a lot of effort and a lot of work, and it's not just your, like I said, stick your Keurig cup in the coffee maker and let it happen. There's cold brews. There's different types of coffee flavors that come into play: dark, medium, light roast. And that's kind of something I wanted to not only just get a good thing out of this podcast, but also meet a new friend and learn about the process and be able to showcase that for you.
Well, that's kind of one of the things that fascinates me about the industry is that we grew up. Not to assume your age or anything right now, but
Go ahead.
I know especially
it's always topic of conversation.
My generation, when I was young, my dad drank Folgers, and that's sort of what I expected coffee to taste like, and that's what coffee was to me. But as I got older and kind of went to college, around that time, I feel like we started having this third wave, what they call it, third wave coffee roasters, kind of opening up around the state, especially here in Indianapolis, and kind of started showing people that coffee could be other things. You know, it's almost kind of like wine in a way.
Absolutely. And even in the craft beer industry now.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, everybody was thinking, oh, it's the typical Bud Light, Miller Lite, Coors Light, and then you get into the craft beer, and now everybody's in the craft beer
Exactly.
industry.
Beer doesn't have to be Bud Light or just a regular
Absolutely.
Pilsner. You can have all kinds of different beer. And same thing with coffee, you know, that there's definitely a place for kind of bold or dark roasted coffee, kind of something that kind of appeals to maybe that older generation. But it's kind of cool to be able to show people what all the different things coffee can be.
Absolutely. And you know, when you said something about going back to college, and what I want people in this show, and I explained to you a little bit this before we started recording, is, you know, yes, it's great to know and learn about the businesses, the local businesses that we've got in the community in Hancock County, because at the end of the day, you know, we want to know who those people are and where they came from behind it, and you know, for people to know that, oh, Porter Coffee in Greenfield, they may not know and recognize that you've got another store or another brewery over here in Lawrence, and this is a really cool atmosphere. There's books. It's Porter Books and Bread. So I'm assuming you guys have your own bakery, or you guys do your own baking of some sort here.
Yeah,
right?
we do all our own baking. That was one of the things we set out when we opened up here. Set out to do was so Marcy, my wife, and I, we kind of, one of our hobbies was to we always like finding new local vendors and kind of, we were really in tune with the local food scene. So one of the things we set out to do when we opened up here was to try to do everything ourselves as much as we could, and anything we couldn't do ourselves we try to buy from someone from around town. So we started baking our own breads and all of our own pastries, and we try to make a lot of our spreads and stuff from scratch. And then we feature a lot of local meats and cheeses and stuff. So the menu, pretty much anything you order will be made in Indiana, if not Indianapolis.
Good.
Yeah, we try to do the same thing with coffee.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what I was telling you too. Is it's nice to have a nice way to talk about people who, one, not only do business in our community, but also bring products in the community that are people that are go and shop and get things from the local restaurants, markets, things of that nature to help showcase their items and also make your brand and your food a little bit better. And I think a lot of people don't understand is you don't have to travel all over Hell's Half Acre to find a good coffee shop, or you don't have to go all over the place to find a good pastry, or just go to Kroger and check out the pastries they've got in their windows or in the boxes. There's great local food joints, there's great local pastry bakeries, there's great local coffee shops, breweries in your communities that are giving back and that are doing their business inside that community, and that's what makes the world go round.
I think it's admittedly it takes a little more effort and it can be a little more difficult to seek those things out, but I think it's incumbent on us, the small business owners, to make it worth the travel and make it worth maybe the little extra cost that it costs to find something locally.
Yeah, and it helps you because you're putting your face in front of those local businesses, and they're starting to learn who you are and what you're about and what your brand's about.
Yeah, and we're pretty passionate about keeping our dollars in the community too. So that's always nice if we can help support people that live in the area.
Good. Now, going back into your real life, what you kind of where you came from, I did hear you say you went right after college. You kind of were thinking, you got through college, knowing about the different types of coffees. Where'd you go to school? Where'd you grow up at? Where are you from?
I grew up most of my childhood in a little town outside of Lafayette, Indiana, and I met my wife Marcy at Purdue. We both went.
Right on. Boiler up, I guess, right?
Yes.
There you go. I'm not an IU fan, so I'm actually Kentucky Wildcat. Actually, I'm going to show you the socks. I got UK socks on it. A lot of people are not very happy about that, but it's a
cross state line, so that's far enough away for us not to hold it against you.
Family has always loved Kentucky. I'm pretty passionate about them. I was a Ball State grad myself, so if there was an in-state school, it's Ball State. Chirp, chirp. I guess if that's what we want to go. It's so intimidating when someone says chirp, chirp. So what did you study at Purdue? Wasn't coffee.
Okay. No, definitely not. So I got my undergraduate degree in behavioral neuroscience at Purdue, and I have a master's degree in social work from IU that I got through IUPUI once we moved down here. So I'm kind of a lifelong student.
What did you want to do out of that?
I really wanted. when I started, I really wanted to be a counselor therapist,
Okay.
a clinical therapist, or a clinical social worker. Once I got through the master's program, I started to get real passionate about working for organizations and trying to do some activist work and
Right.
Awareness, stuff like that. So I'm definitely and hopefully you can't tell by walking in and interacting with us at the shop, but in my personal time, I definitely am pretty active politically and in terms of
Politics itself.
politics somewhat, but also trying to talk on behalf of people that can't advocate for themselves.
Right. Okay. Can't tell that at all.
No.
And that's-
Well, and I mean, from a business standpoint, I'm happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. I said when you can, but it's also good that you got a passion outside of this.
Yeah.
And I talk a lot. If you follow me on social media, I talk a lot about a good work-life balance. And like with my brand and myself, my MG, what MG brand is about is it's not about what I'm doing business-wise, what I'm doing work-wise. It's more to develop, you guys knowing that everybody goes through things, one in life, but two, everybody has those hobbies outside of them. Just because a business owner spends a lot of his time, probably 90% of his time and effort in the business, growing the business, they also have that percentage of stuff outside of life, spending time with family and kids, that they've got some type of hobby they engage in. And I think that's what I encourage you guys, and you can speak on this behalf as well. I'd love to hear your input. Is making sure that you're spending time, whether that's with a not-for-profit or you're volunteering, giving back, whether it's sports that make you passionate or whatever it is, to go do it. Because if you're just dedicated full on 100% on your work life, your mind is going to get miscombobulated and go left and right, and take your mind off of what really matters in this world and where your love is. Because at the end of the day, there's only a click of the finger where your business and work could be gone. People that that they're with you side by side is your family, those people that you associate yourself with, and you got to be able to make sure that you're doing a good job making them happy as well.
Well, and kind of along the lines of trying to keep a lot of our food local, we're very passionate about being positive contributing members to our community in any way that we're able to. So we try to participate in a lot of community programs, and as a business, but also personally, we work with a couple nonprofit, or a nonprofit specifically.
Who is that? I mean, you mind sharing who that nonprofit is? And
I do a little bit of work with. It's called the Village of Marici, and they're just in the building to the north of us. They're a service provider who works out of an apartment building that is that's meant specifically for adults with developmental disabilities.
Okay.
So I actually interned with them when I was getting my master's degree, and then I still do a little bit of work with them a couple times a month. But doing some relationship and kind of education, things like that nature.
And that's what it's about. I mean, if you've got that one passion, and like I said in episode 1, I was talking to Andrea over at the Hope House about. Not at all did I ever think what I'm doing now in the insurance business would be what I thought I was, what I graduated school from. And and there's one thing that I learned from college, and I played baseball at Ball State, and I enjoyed that. It was fun, exciting. I made some of my best friends from playing baseball. But there's one thing from school that I learned doing what I'm doing now is that I didn't need it.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious, and 90% of the people go to college or even start out college. I bet the percentage of people that start out going to college and say determining their major, I bet they don't finish with either that major, or they get out of school, graduate, and they don't get into the business that they wanted to get into. And that's not a bad thing, because you being young, you don't always know what you're wanting to get into. And now that you probably hadn't, if you would have asked Will 15 years ago, am I going to own a coffee shop? Maybe you had that dream, but you probably never had anything.
15 years ago, Will would have been disappointed that I wasn't a doctor right now. That I started out pre-med, and that didn't last very long. But
me too.
You're right.
I started out in the dentistry field
Right
year
on.
1, and I'm like, no, this ain't gonna work. So
it didn't work out for me either.
But you wouldn't regret it. You wouldn't change it for the world.
No, definitely not. And
I think it's the path that you went down, like learning that, going through the hardships and those times, and learning that makes this more enjoyable.
It's kind of a weird thing to think about, because I think now more than ever we're definitely living in a world where you don't necessarily need a college education to be successful in a lot of the blossoming industries that we have in our at least in the States. That said, I feel like having that degree and learning and gaining that knowledge really opens up a lot of accessibility
Agreed.
in certain areas. So like, if this doesn't pan out and we have to shutter our doors at both shops, I have my master's degree to fall back on, and
Absolutely.
I could go and I could walk in somewhere and be a clinical social worker. I mean, if I didn't have that degree, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Right.
I mean, so yeah.
To somewhat.
So it's
somewhat
security,
unique.
and it's expensive as security. So
Oh, absolutely it is. Absolutely it
I
is.
feel kind of shitty having spent that amount of money on financial security.
Security, just to make sure, right?
But I think that's definitely valuable, and I would never discourage anyone from trying to follow a college dream. But I am pretty encouraged by seeing the amount of new vocational schools popping up.
And I think too, it's not only spending the money or coming out, $50,000-$60,000 in debt. I think it does make, for me, if it wasn't my path, if it wasn't the path that I had taken right out of high school, I wouldn't be sitting in this situation that I am now because I didn't get to go through the things I did. And with me having Brooklyn, my 5-year-old daughter, when I was going into my freshman year of college, it was a very rough time in my life and tough time that I went through. But if it wasn't for those times and where I've led it up to just recently, I would hate to see where I was right out of high school if I didn't go to college, because you learn so much through that time frame. And like I said, I'm not going to bring up age or whatnot. Whatever you've gone through from the time that you graduated high school to now. I'm sure we could spend all day long talking about stories that you've either one failed at one aspect, or you thought you were going to do this and knew you were going to do this, and the next thing you know, you're not.
Definitely what I think helps shape and form kind of your outlook on life and how you approach your day to day is shaped by like the experiences you've had. And I'm also pretty big believer in experiencing as many things as possible. And whether that's going to college or moving out of the house at 18 just to travel a little bit or experience anything. Getting out of your comfort zone is usually where I do my best learning, kind of do my best work. So usually if I feel pretty uncomfortable, I know that I'm learning something.
Absolutely.
And I think that's, to your point, that's kind of what college life is like.
It is, and no matter how you spend those college years, you're going to learn something. And if you didn't learn something, you didn't fail.
Right.
That's what I think. If you didn't fail during your time in college or during your first 4, 5, 6 years out of high school, you didn't fail.
No.
Because if you didn't fail, you didn't learn anything.
One of my best friends is most of my best friends that went to college but didn't finish, and one of them owns his own business. Another one is, moving up the ropes in his business, and the other guy's doing the same. So you definitely don't have to have that degree to be successful, but at the same time, one thing we all had in common was we all moved out and got out of our comfort zone right out of high school, and I think we all kind of experienced some difficulties, and
Right.
Those are definitely what make you a stronger person.
Would you suggest anyone, depending on their age or what they want to do, if they want to start a business, how would you suggest that they get started, or you just say they go after it and let it happen? Because one of the biggest things I was talking about following Gary Vaynerchuk on social media, he says the same thing. If there's something that you're passionate about or that you're wanting to get into, go try and go do it. I get it. There could be financial burdens or things that make it hurt. But for someone young, or even not young, wanting to take a leap of faith into start a new business, what would you say the biggest thing for them? Maybe some advice for them to jump at.
I'd say, first of all, I'd say if you're trying to open a restaurant, don't. But I think one of the things that we decided, I think there's a common thought process that opening a coffee shop or a restaurant is sort of a retirement project. Like put your hours in the corporate world or whatever industry you happen to be in, save up your money, and then do this passion project that you want to do in your twilight years. And I think we figured that if we were going to do something that risky, it'd be way better to do it young and fail and have some years to recover from that, and then use that experience we gained from the process to apply that to our employment in later years. that's probably like somewhat pessimistic, but
No, I
you know,
mean,
I think we
you're
just
there.
try to be prepared for everything. So I think our thought process was sort of the opposite. I think what a lot of people feel. We wanted to get it out of the way young, just in case something bad happened.
And I think you think the preparation, I mean, leading up to, because I mean, I've got visions in my mind of what I want to do, you know, post-retirement, and I still will always have those visions. It's not something I can do right this second, just because of life in general, where I'm at with my family, kids, and then the love and passion I've got for my current job in the insurance business. Would you say preparation is probably the biggest thing?
Yeah, definitely. It's I mean, a lot of work goes into doing something like starting your own business, and one of the things. So it took us a while to get open, both spots,
Right.
And that benefited us in a couple of ways. So we were able to take 4, 5, 6 months and try to spread a lot of this work out over that time and do the amount of research that we needed to do, make sure we were approaching things the right way. I kind of have the opposite approach. Now that we're open and we want to try something new, I'm definitely much more of a jump in with both feet and like things to work themselves out. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But getting set up, there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of people you need to please. A lot of signatures, a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And that can take a while. I think it's best to take your time with that.
Now, from start to finish, when did you start the process of opening up this shop here in Lawrence compared to the exact date that you did start?
We started, I think technically, our business entity was created in March of 2014, and we didn't open until September of 2015. A lot of that process was built out. So like the building that we're in right now.
You've been here the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay.
The building that we're in right now, what had been abandoned since the fort that we're in, Fort Harrison, had been decommissioned. So there was a lot of work that went into the space. But we used that time to apply for all of our business licenses, our health department licenses, get all of our permits pulled and everything.
And then Greenfield's shop opened up June of 2018.
June, yeah, that one.
2019.
Right, 19.
19.
I forget what year we're in.
I same thing. I can't believe it's 2020 already.
So that one took a lot of time, but it's mostly because I had mentioned that the space that we're in now was sort of tied to that city of Greenfield,
Yep.
like almost like a Shark Tank project, and that ended up taking a little bit more time than we were expecting. We were looking at that building probably about 2 years ago.
Okay.
No, and then we opened in June.
June of 2019, and now back open, ready to go, getting things going. What's your guys' hours over there for people to kind of get a little bit more
Right now,
idea of what time to be over there?
Right now we're open Tuesday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Okay.
Saturdays 9 to 3.
Okay.
We're doing a few different things now than we were when we opened in June. So
Sure, I'd love to hear those. What's the differences there, and what's...
So all the coffee stuff is the same, but we're starting to do some food out there now,
Okay.
which is one of the things that we heard the most about, what people wanted. So we're doing sandwiches, chips, and eventually we're hoping to take soup out there. But
Are we talking warm sandwiches? Or are we talking
warm sandwiches, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, all paninis. And the goal is to kind of create kind of a grab and go kind of atmosphere. So something quick and easy that people can eat in or take with them.
What's the owner's special there? What's your go-to sandwich? So we go try it after we're done with this conversation.
So it's a bit of a different menu than here in Lawrence, but we do kind of just a ham and salami and provolone panini out there, and it's good. We use this incredible hot beef salami cotto from Turchetti's down in Fountain Square, downtown Indianapolis. And when that heats up, it gets kind of nice and greasy, and something about hot fatty salami just really hits the spot.
Get your gears going there. I totally understand that. And as far as like coffee goes, you guys will offer anything from a cold brew coffee to a black coffee like I've got in this cup. It says wait for it.
Yeah.
Pretty nifty little cup here.
I
dig it.
So all of our coffee at both locations, we do French press, all the service coffee. So we don't have a drip brewer.
Okay.
One of the things that I try to be passionate about is to not make anything that I don't like myself, or that I feel.
Why would you?
Yeah. Well, and I mean obviously to an extent, we got to be able to offer something that other people like that I don't like. But I just sort of genuinely feel that French press coffee offers a better cup of coffee than a drip brewer. So that's how we brew all of our service coffee out in Greenfield. And then we'll offer a full array of espresso drinks, cold brew coffee, teas, kombucha from Circle Kombucha here in Indy. Yeah.
Where do you get your beans from?
We buy from a few different brokers who we try to work with brokers.
Sorry if that's too
no,
in
that's
depth. I just wanted to
not at all.
Where they come from and from start to finish.
I love talking about it. It's a really cool process, and I enjoy educating people about it because it's important to us how we source them. We work with brokers that we know have transparent relationships with the farmers, so we know that our money is going to the communities that are growing the crops. Specifically, we work with most of our beans come from one organization that they only will sell beans in the States from communities that they have essentially staff members locally, that live in those communities. They help set up community organizations and teach them good business practices, how to take the money and put it back into the business, and schools and help setting up all kinds of
profits and stuff.
Exactly. So they have a smaller selection of green coffee beans that we buy from them, but we know that our money's going to a good cause.
Absolutely.
There.
And then from there, I see the big bags. Is that beans sitting in those bags right now, or what's the process there? And also, like I said, I'll make sure that I show you and make sure you check out the video on YouTube on Tuesday just to see what you can expect. So you've got the beans in the bag.
We've got the white nylon bags are from that broker that I was talking about.
Okay.
And then we've got one of the more traditional coffee burlap sack over there that we actually purchased through a cohort here in town who has a direct relationship with a farmer in Honduras. So we're getting these beans shipped straight from Honduras and then back here to Indy. And
it's impressive.
Yeah, we know that there's not really a middleman relationship there. So
it's getting straight to us. And then the big, looks pretty fancy machine over there. What do we call that?
That's our roaster.
Okay.
It's that brand of roaster is sort of designed to kind of have an old school look to it.
It's sweet looking.
And it's a direct heat roaster, so there's a gas flame. There are 5 burners underneath that heat a drum that rotates.
Wow.
So we're really kind of grilling beans in there. So you get a lot of caramelization and a lot of direct heat cooking.
Okay.
So it takes a little bit more manual care, but I feel like you get a nicer end product.
From start to finish, bean in bag to coffee in mug, how quickly could you have a fresh batch of coffee ready?
So there's a bit of a process to getting that thing up and running, but once the coffee's in the roaster, it's about a 15-minute process to discharge. And
then you got to grind it, right?
And we leave it whole until we're ready to serve, and then we grind.
So you grind when you produce a coffee or a cup of coffee, you're gonna have fresh ground coffee directly, just freshly ground, right?
And typically, any coffee that you get from us is going to be, probably a couple days old.
Okay.
We do try to age some of our
That's what I was
espresso.
going to ask you. Does it age a little bit? Or is there any type of coffee that you guys use or whatever it is that ages?
So generally any coffee we roast is going to be, it's going to hit a sweet spot 2 to 3 days after roast, maybe a little bit longer. That coffee is doing what we call degassing. It's just kind of letting off a little bit of CO2 and some gases and chemicals after it roasts. And it does most of that in the first couple days after you've roasted it.
Impressive.
And it extracts differently when you brew it.
Coffee in bag expire. So say I've got it freshly, it was just ground today. How long do I have before I probably need to throw that away? Because I've got about 3 bags at home that I probably shouldn't use. I got 3 weeks ago.
Well, that's...
or is it depending on if it's sealed correctly?
So most coffee bags have that little valve on the front, and what that's for is basically for coffee to be roasted and then thrown in a bag, and then it's degassing, it's giving off gases, so the gases can be expelled through that valve, and it's not taking anything back through. So, if you've got coffee sealed in a bag, whole bean, we typically only keep coffee on the shelf for 2 weeks until we start discounting it and trying to sell it. But I've got coffee at home that I've had for about a month and a half or longer. So I think it's really personal preference. But from a business standpoint, we wouldn't sell anything older than 2 weeks probably.
Okay, makes sense. Now, last question on the coffee stuff before I kind of wrap this up. For I know you've got a busy day. I would highly encourage you not only to check out the Greenfield, office or Greenfield shop first, because that is what we're talking about. We are talking about Inside Hancock County. Just happened to want to come over here, see nothing but cool photos on the website of this place. They've got some books that you can come over and check out and read, and then also down. It's 2 stories. So it's got a nice spiral staircase you can come at. It's got a really cool vibe, really cool music coming out. I just highly encourage you to come check the place out. 1, but 2, if you go check out the Greenfield spot, please go do so. I highly encourage you. Local business, trying to help as much as they can get back to the community, and not only just Hancock County, but also this is a very young person mind of mine right now. What county are we in here?
Marion.
So we are in Marion County. I should have known that. So giving back in Marion County also along with Hancock County. So I would highly encourage checking them out. That's what we're about. A little bit. I was telling you a little bit about my brand and what I'm about and how I go about things. How I like to wrap up the episodes and like to talk about is kind of the 4 things that I know day in and out that I can control. No matter if I'm doing business, in my personal life with my family, Shelby and the kids, or with coaching baseball, because baseball is something that I'm passionate about. There's 4 things you can control day in and out: passion, enthusiasm, attitude, and effort. It's sitting right here. It's my background. It's kind of what I grow. It's my logo there for myself. Merch coming soon, by the way. I'm working on it right now. I think you guys will really enjoy it.
If you got any hats, let us know. We'll hit you up.
I'm gonna get some, because that's one focus. I gotta take care of myself. I've got to brand myself and show it out before I do, and I'll for sure hook you up. And I might see if I can't grab some bags of coffee from here today, or purchase some bags of coffee, and maybe we'll do a little contest. See who wants to try it out and give us a good review on it. But going back to the 4 things you can control day in and day out: passion, enthusiasm, attitude, and effort. What do you guys do here? What separates you or yourself from your competitors, or what you do that you can implement those things? Is there something that you do on a day-to-day basis, or that you take a look at, or can give some advice to people on how you go about your day-to-day life that can really impact others, and especially your workers and your customers?
I think, and this can be taken any number of different ways, but one of the things that we like to do as a business is we sort of sell out for each other here for everyone that works with us. So we try to keep the enthusiasm pretty high about rotating the menu and bringing in interesting vendors and ingredients, but we also try to support each other in the face of any kind of adversity. So this can be taken the wrong way.
Take it, shoot it. I don't care. Like we just talked about, there's one thing I don't give a shit about what you. Then you don't care about what I think, because neither should people listening. Yeah, they may care, but again, you're doing what you're doing, and you're living life how you want to live life, and not worrying about what other people think. So shoot it how you want to shoot it.
I feel like we get the best results and work the best when we can sort of be a team where we support each other. Let me put it a different way. You hear a lot. The customer's always right.
Absolutely.
And customer service is obviously one of the key things that we have to do in our service industry. But there are a lot of instances where that simply just does not work for how we want to operate business-wise, or for team members here. So one of the things that we try to do is we kind of take a me versus everyone else, or us versus everyone else attitude, and try to be real passionate about the food that we're putting out, the coffee we're doing, and try to bring customers into our world.
Absolutely.
So instead of trying to make everything about everyone outside, once you step through the doors at our spot, like you're part of our family, this is how we do things, and let us educate you about what we're doing here. So I guess that's maybe a little bit of a different approach, I think, than a lot.
No, I think you're right, though. I mean, and that's kind of how I've taken this new year, and I want to separate myself in the insurance business here a little bit, because insurance business is driven primarily 100%. If you're not providing good customer service, there's tons of other different agencies around that take care of a great customer, and I do. I want my customers. I take great care of them, and I want them to know that. And actually, I put out something Friday about Valentine's Day. I freaking hate Valentine's Day, because why should you show the people you love and express that on one day of the year when you should do that every single day of your life. And because in the insurance business, I'm not going to show my customers or my clients that I care about them just at their renewal.
Yeah.
No, I want to come and sit down with you and talk about and learn more about what you're doing. Like tomorrow, I'm going to go meet with a customer, sit down and go over coffee. I know it's at Starbucks. It's the only thing close to them, so I apologize. But
No offense.
So I'm going up there and sit down and just talk. I want to learn about anything that's new that they've got going on, just to let them know, hey, I'm still here. I'm not shying away. We went over your renewal in October. I want them to know that I still care and love about them. But on the back end, and we talked about this for a quick second before, the authenticity of who you are as a person, as a business owner, is no different than who I am as a person, as an insurance agent, or as a father, or as a husband, or as a baseball coach. If you have an issue with who I am as a person, my authenticity, then I don't think that we need to be doing business with each other, nor do we need to be even friends.
Well, and to kind of focus that sentiment, I think one of the things that really drives me crazy about as being a customer at another place of business is sort of the fake smile and the tone of voice people take when they're trying to be fake friendly. And I think one of the things that you'll find with us is that we really embrace kind of the cheeky and sort of sassy vibe that you get working in a food service industry.
Right.
So it wouldn't be uncommon for you to hear us joking around. You might hear us swear from time to time, but that's kind of just how we operate and how we do business, and we want people to feel comfortable in that environment. Because that's honest. It's just more honest,
and that's who you are.
I think we're able to work better and put out a better product if we're able to live freely while we're working.
Absolutely. And if I show up to your coffee shop and I hear you, and like I said in one of my other last podcasts, if I say the word shit and you have an issue with it, I apologize, one, but two, I don't apologize because it's my passion towards something. If I show up to your coffee shop and I hear you saying, this cup of coffee is some good shit. You're talking from your mind to your heart to that cup of coffee. Like, it is.
Yeah.
It is a good cup of coffee, for goodness sakes. It's not, it's all right. No, that's a effing good cup of coffee. I'm trying not to say the F word because it's really bad and I'm going to say it at the wrong time. But then again, it's who I am. It's how I use the adjective or use it to express my feeling towards something. Last question: how can people, I guess they want to learn more about you, learn more about your business, businesses. There's two separate. So Porter Coffee Shop is in Greenfield, and there's Porter Books and Breads over here in Lawrence, in the Fort Harrison, smack dab in the middle of the Fort Harrison Park. I'd suggest coming over, grabbing a cup of coffee, going around the track, or going around the trails, or go play some golf. Not right now; it's just extremely cold outside. But how can they find you, learn more about you, or even I guess connect with you on a personal basis?
Well, generally, either I or my wife Marcy will be at one of the shops, so you can pretty much just walk in and ask us. We're an open book. We love talking shop. We're pretty upfront with people about anything. But if you need to reach out to us and you can't find us, you can email me at will@porterbread.com or will@porter.coffee. And all of our contact info is on the website.
Social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, on all three?
Facebook and Instagram. I'm not brave enough to delve into the Twitter.
If you're not putting stuff out every single 45 minutes to an hour, I feel like sometimes you're losing.
Well, and the connectivity between Facebook and Instagram really makes it easy to kind of do both platforms at the same time.
Plus knowing who you're trying to connect with.
Yeah.
In my eyes, I like the Twitter aspect of things on the baseball side. Like sporting things, if you want to find something quick,
it's great for news.
It's great for the quick news updates, things of that nature. If you're really trying to engage with the customer or engage with your audience, who that audience may be, you're right. The Facebook and the Instagram are there.
Right.
So, do you have Porter Coffee and then Porter Bread or Books and Bread as another one? So two separate. They can go find you both, right?
Porter Books and Bread is our Instagram and Facebook handle, and Porter Coffee Indy is our Instagram and Facebook handle for the coffee shop.
So if you actually go to their website, they do have some emblem, their social media emblems. Click on those as a direct link. It'll take you right to where you need to find them at. Worley, W-I-L-L, pretty simple, W-O-R-L-E-Y. We'll call him M or W squared. I don't know if he's got any cool nicknames. Will Whirl, whatever it is. We'll figure something out. But I hope you guys can learn something from this. I do challenge you to go check it out, have a conversation with him, let him teach you a little bit more about the coffee, about the experience, what they can expect, and then come check out the atmosphere. I think that's probably the one thing a lot of people can do. I've seen, while I've been here, I've seen the same probably 15 people just sitting enjoying the atmosphere, either having a meeting, working on their own branding, their own content, things of that nature. I think that's what makes you guys genuine.
Yeah. We fill the space with things that we like, so it's a space that makes us comfortable, and hopefully that translates.
Absolutely. Well, I do appreciate your time and effort for taking this time. I do wanted to, like I said, I really do appreciate it. It was short notice. I'm actually going to push this podcast out quicker than I expected. I think we got some really good content from it. I want you guys to learn more about them. Go check them out, Porter Coffee. They will be open tomorrow morning at 7:30. Go check them out. I'm going to go grab me a cup of coffee tomorrow there. I think Will will be there. Come check him out, learn more about it, and go follow him on Instagram, Instagram and Facebook, all aspects, and maybe even go hit him up as well. He's got some pretty cool stuff, and he had a pretty funny comment about some banana Laffy Taffy. Was it? was that it?
I'm extremely passionate in my hate for banana flavored candy.
I agree. I can't stand it. I had a banana this morning, and it tastes nothing like banana candy at all.
There is an interesting story behind that.
Let's hear it. I gotta hear it.
So, apparently, that is how bananas used to taste. Maybe, I think it was as recent as like 50 to 60 years ago.
No kidding.
And basically, bananas are they're a genetic anomaly. There's like one strain of banana, and there's not a whole lot of diversity in the genetic chain of like bananas. So one virus wiped out all the banana population.
So they had to redo
like a long time ago. So they had to start from scratch. And new bananas now are like what the new bananas are.
No kidding.
That's why the old banana candy. That's why banana candy tastes so different, because that's what bananas used to taste like.
I wouldn't enjoy it, I can tell you that.
No, yeah, I wouldn't eat a single fucking banana if it tasted like that, because it's gross.
It's and we was down in Dominican Republic. Kind of cool thing about college, real quick before I pop off. Sorry, people listening, rambling on, but this is what it's about, and I don't care if I'm interrupting your time, your lunch date. It doesn't matter to me, or your drive. If it's a 47-minute drive and we're going 49 minutes, you're gonna have to listen to the last 2 when you get back in.
Just idle for a second.
Yeah, just sit there. Tell your customer to wait a second because you're listening to a kick-ass podcast. But I will say, back to the banana thing, we were down at Thanksgiving of my sophomore year of college. We played baseball over in Dominican Republic and did some mission work. It was super cool. But something we had every single day was fresh bananas. They were picked freshly from a village down the street. And the taste of a Dominican Republic banana and an America, they're all from over somewhere else, but tasting the difference was just head over heels, fresh off the tree, was amazingly better than getting it from our Walmart that we just got last night.
Ripened appropriately, probably, Unreal. And not like chemically ripened or what have you.
So daggone good. So yes, you're right. It's amazing how a banana, something that comes off of a tree, can taste so different. And it's so funny because guess what? Coffee could do the same exact way. Yeah. Coffee bean can transmute into different types of coffee.
You really can taste the difference in, a coffee from a Starbucks or whatever.
What was that? That was pretty good.
That's
what was the difference?
That's from Brazil. That's a naturally processed bean. Just means basically coffee beans are from a cherry.
Right.
And typically they kind of pop the beans out and they let them dry out in the sun, more or less, and they wash the flesh off of the bean. And naturally processed beans, they just take the whole cherry and let it sit out in the sun and ferment basically for a little while, and then they clean all that stuff off of the bean. So there's a lot of residual sugar left on the bean, and it roasts a little bit differently. That's one of our lightest roasts, but there's so much sugar on it and residual like mucous membrane from the cherry that it really comes across as a much more full cup of coffee.
It did. It was I smelled it, and it's like kind of why I smell it. And I guess it kind of smells a little, almost like it was smelled a little sweeter.
Yeah, totally.
And it tasted phenomenal. So I might have to get me another cup of that before I pop out of here. But yeah, go check them out everywhere. Greenfield Shop. Mainly let's try to grow that for them and generate some customers into that store, and just go check them out. In general, obviously continue to support local businesses no matter where it's at, what coffee shop, it doesn't matter. Keep trying to visit those places and learn more about him. But go check Will out, learn about what his story is. I hope you guys thoroughly enjoyed this one. and hopefully we'll have him on again at some other point. Maybe have
totally.
have his wife join us, and we can get caught up in the shop a little bit more in detail, more on Greenfield. So once again, appreciate you tuning in and listening to this episode 2, and hope to have a phenomenal episode for you again next week. Remember, follow us, subscribe to this YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and go subscribe to our podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, and we are also SoundCloud, and go follow us and check out our website, www.insidehancockcounty.com, for more detail, more blogs, and more information. Once again, we'll appreciate you joining us. Remember that you can make a difference somehow, some way in someone's life. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.